Yes, mark my words. By the end of this British Fist TNA review, it will be done.
Welcome back, YouTubers, to a TNA Impact Wrestling review from the UK Wembley Arena. Well, no, technically it's from my house in Peterborough, with me, Mr. Parkin, with the shirt the right way round, and this guy sitting next to me. Are you asleep, NJ, or are you awake? I can't really tell by your expression. Oh, he's waking up. He's NJing up, people. Subscribe down below. Comment your thoughts on this show down below. And also give this video a like as well, as that always seems to go somewhere on YouTube.
And make sure you contact us in the links in the description box below.
You got a bit of an itchy mouth.
It was a bit, yes.
Is that why you botched that last line?
Oh, yes.
Anyway, all the entertainment for you guys. Anyway, so this edition of TNA Impact Wrestling, this was the first show from the two shows they recorded at the Wembley Arena. The most of this show was really geared towards finding a #1 contender for the World Heavyweight Championship. So we'll start off with the opener, which I thought was actually a pretty hot opener. I mean, what a better way to open the show in the UK than a guy in Hulk Hogan who you know the fans are going to be pretty much going mental for.
When it comes to last year, when we had Hogan returning, we knew that it was going to be a big draw. The UK crowd like him, they love him, they want to see him. So for him to come out, announce something big that's coming within TNA, it was a good idea, good opener, and it got the crowd awake, ready for the show.
The crowd were very awake for this segment. You had Hogan announce what was going to happen tonight. There was going to be some kind of tournament between 8 guys. We're going to have RVD versus James Storm, Daniels versus Magnus, Kurt Angle versus Samoa Joe, and Austin Aries versus Bobby Roode to decide a #1 contender for Lockdown that Hogan would pick out of all the 8 matches that happened. So it was really not really about who won. It was more about who impressed Hogan the most at the end of the day. We also got the announcement that we're going to probably be getting a lethal lockdown match. It's going to be Aces and Eights versus Team TNA. That's going to be captained by Sting, who came out and pretty much addressed that he wanted to end the Aces and Eights.
With the Aces and Eights, this whole thing was done early in the week as well. They were announcing it, Twittering it. Aces and Eights was back-chatting it, and everything was going on. So yes, they announced it before the actual show, but for them to address it in the show, Sting to come out. Yes, I enjoyed more Hogan's speech than Sting's in this, which is a compliment to Hogan. But this announces what TNA's offering, and then this Ace and 8 storyline. So in the opener, it accomplished a lot.
I mean, you had Hogan, who the fans are going to mark out for. Sting, a classic wrestler who you know that fans, again, are going to mark out for despite his age. You've got the stuff announced for the show, and you've got finally some build towards Lockdown, which we needed, let's face it.
The big negative about the opener was I don't really think Sting needs a group of people to take out the Ace and Eights when the Ace and Eights lose every single bloody match they're in.
And of course, not to mention that he took them out by himself anyway. So there we go. So what we're going to do now is after the opener, we're going to address everything else that happened in this show, then address all the stuff that was geared towards the main event, which was Hogan picking who was going to do the #1 contender. The Blossom Twins and Marty Scurll versus Gail Kim and Tara and Jesse Goddard. This was a showcase of the people that didn't win the British Boot Camp, but they wanted to get them on the show, which was pretty good. It's just, I didn't really care all that much for this segment. It just felt like filler to me, really.
I was really turned off. Yes, it was good to see the Blossom Twins actually on the TV shows, the boot camp rubbish and stuff. But the thing about this is that, yes, the heels who have been there the longest time was expected to win. But there's a spot where I thought if Tara didn't run in, the Blossom could have got win over not the champion, but Gail Kim.
Gail Kim ends up winning the match, and this whole thing really was geared more towards what was going to happen next week with the Knockouts Championship. We have the announcement from Brooke Hogan that it's going to be Gail Kim versus Miss Teschmacher versus Terra versus Velvet Sky for the Knockout Championship in an elimination match next week. So I'm sort of looking forward to that, I am.
So following Tara's win and then Gail Kim involved, it all led up to another hype up for the pay-per-view. Well, not the pay-per-view, the next week's show. So I'm expecting, like, the outcomes Brooke, it all adds up to something. So I like how this was done by the end of the match.
Even though I didn't necessarily care about the match, at least the announcement got me hyped up somewhat for next week. Joseph Park was backstage trying to politic, and turned out that he probably got a bit of a rib. You gotta love the fact that TNA are using insider terms on at the wrestling show right now, which casual fans probably won't get. It's funny, wasn't it? Don't you think?
Yeah.
Okay. So when we get to the part of the show, the 4 matches that this show was pretty much built around, we're going to talk about them all now. Most of the show, like I said, was geared towards Hogan picking who was going to be the #1 contender. The first match we got right after the hot opener was Daniels versus Magnus. You know, you got Magnus, who's a Brit, so obviously the crowd are going to go nuts for him, and they did.
Following Hogan putting everyone over, especially Magnus, when he says, "Put your money, I'm putting my money on Magnus." This really warmed him up. Him then going up and beating Daniels was a big thing for Magnus. My main concern, like I say, every time we see Magnus, is how long is his involvement in TNA going to last before he disappears again?
Indeed, and Magnus wins with the trademark elbow after Kaz got sent out. And I do really look at Magnus and I think to myself, God damn, this guy has mic skills, he has charisma, he's British. You know, this guy could easily be a main event for TNA. Not to mention the fact that he has the main event look, he has the body type to be in the main event. I just think down the line, somewhere, they have to push Magnus into the main event at some point. I really do.
If Magnus does not disappear off like he always does, I do feel if they keep working with him, he could become someone the fans could get behind and want to see in a higher place.
And especially using him as a centerpiece to when they tour Britain, which they will do at least once a year. Kurt Angle versus Samoa Joe.
Again.
What's that?
Again.
Indeed. We've had this match many times now, but hell, it's always nice to see Angle versus Joe. This went about 12.5 minutes. It was a pretty good wrestling match between these two, even though Joe no-sold the Angle Slam.
And this weren't really a match, to be honest. So fighting, a match we've seen before, but then it all came to do with the whole Kurt Angle's involvement with his old group of friends, Garrett Bischoff and Wes Briscoe, who won't be there yet.
Yeah, Wes Briscoe and Garrett Bischoff came to the ring and tried to beat down an exhausted Angle and Samoa Joe, but of course, with them being in the Aces and Eights, they failed. But to be honest with you, Garrett Bischoff and Briscoe should not be beating up a Kurt Angle or a Samoa Joe anyway, but at least here the DQ finish meant no one had to do the job, so I'm not too fussed about this.
With Angle and Samoa Joe, it's a pay-per-view match. I'm glad they weren't a clean finish, and also the fact that they're bringing out Wes Briscoe and Garrett Bischoff, they're definitely teasing something here, especially more towards Angle.
Indeed, RVD versus James Storm was our next match. I think with RVD being the X Division champion, it was quite obvious who was going to win this, and James Storm won with his trademark last call super kick. So this one was pretty obvious to me.
I'm liking the fact that rather than Dam can put over main eventers, but when it comes to younger talent who need to build up, he doesn't seem to want to do it.
Unless your name is Robbie E, and you're in no way going to be getting RVD's spot. In our main event match of the evening, we had Austin Aries versus Bobby Roode, the tag team champions facing off each other, and this was a somewhat interesting match. We had at the beginning when they tried to reenact the finger poke of doom, but they're both no-selling it. I'm not going down. I'm not laying down, NJ. I'm not laying down. I'm not laying down. You can do the job for me. You can do the job for me. And this is exactly what it was. It was quite entertaining. What did you think to this match?
The match, again, you're expecting it. I didn't really feel these two would be fighting off against each other on an Impact show, but again, it's hyping up something bigger for them. So I did enjoy, as you do expect from these two, and I think it was more about them showing off their friendship before evaluating to what they want to be doing later on.
And they both tried to do Eddie Guerrero's classic chair routine, didn't they? That was quite funny. That brought me back to the good old days when Eddie Guerrero was around. And then after that, out come Los Stereotypicos to what was a chorus of boos, and that causes Bobby Roode and Austin Aries to both get counted out. So no one did the job, so that's fine.
I did like how when they were trying to get to the ring, pull back.
Like that. When they're trying to get back, it was quite entertaining. I will say
very good finish, and I do think when they're both saying I won, it's very good. A lot better in my opinion than Team Hell No when they're trying to say I'm better, all that kind of stuff. This was very entertaining. Good thing you expect from these two, and I just look forward to more.
Okay, so these 4 matches, which they devoted a lot of the show to, led to our main event of the evening, where Hogan was deciding the #1 contender. Before we can even decide the #1 contender, the Aces and Eights come out to surround Hogan, and then an injured Bully Ray comes out to scare them off, and then Sting also comes out, and the Aces and Eights run off. So we didn't really even get the announcement as to who the #1 contender would be. So all this pretty much led to nothing.
Yeah, Buddy Ray throughout the night was a big softie, but he manages to come out and scare off the Ace and
I mean,
Eights.
how much of a pussy faction is this Aces and Eights? For God's sake.
Really ridiculous.
Oh, God, just terrible.
Now on to overall thoughts. Before I get into my big announcement, let me just say this. All you worthless mortals who are celebrating Valentine's Day, you make me laugh. Who cares about Valentine's Day? Show your love by coming to me and saying something to my face. Because believe me, you will not walk away with a smile on your face. Now for the moment you've all been waiting for, my big announcement. The Ace and Eights faction are absolutely worthless. They are absolutely nothing. They mean nothing to me. So why not give this worthless faction to the real leader of the Aces and Eights? Fool Killer. Evil Fool Killer was right. This faction does not belong to me. Why the hell would I waste my time with a faction that cannot be in the ring and win matches and prove to me that they are actually as dominant and scary as I am? Worthless mortals, watch out for Fool Killer's videos because he's going to try and wig his way out of this. But believe me, the best is yet to come.